Magnus Carlsen is one of, and arguably, the strongest chess player to ever walk planet Earth. For 10 years, Magnus held the title for world champion. But even before that, when he was just 13 years old, he was still crushing grandmasters. I'm about to show you a game where he destroyed a 2500 like it was nothing. Make sure you stick around. At the time this game was played, Magnus was 13 years old and rated about 2500. He starts off the game with a ready, knight f3. The opponent responds with the Dutch variation, playing f5, which is a very risky move because it really weakens the light squares around the king, right? So let's see how Magnus takes advantage of this. He plays d3 and e4, taking the center. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Knight c3, knight c6, and Magnus takes the f5 pawn. And after bishop takes here, d4. d4 immediately strikes in the center, saying to his opponent, "You are stupid for playing this against me." His opponent probably thought, "Oh, this kid, he's 13. Let me just destroy him real quick and grab a Snickers." But no, Magnus had other plans. He plays d4, knight d4, knight d4, e d4, queen d4. So all of these exchanges in the center, right? He is looking to open up the position to take advantage of the black king and the lack of development. Because guess what? Magnus is about to get super quick development. Just watch. The bishop cutting into the light squares that were weakened with the push of the f-pawn. And now the king is not going to be able to castle kingside because this bishop is taking away the square. Okay, so let's see. We have c6 looking to play b5. His opponent trying to push Magnus back, right? He's like, this kid's getting a little aggressive with me. I don't like that. I gotta turn it to him. But Magnus just drops his bishop back to b3 and says, okay, but look, man, I got my bishops staring into your position, and I'm about to castle either which way and get my rooks to the center and just beat up your king. And boy, oh boy, does he do just that. We have bishop e7, desperately trying to develop and block the pin on the knight here to the queen. But Magnus castles long, and it's already +1 for Magnus. The queen and the rook teaming up on the d-file. The h-rook is coming into the e-file, and the king cannot castle. The king has nowhere to hide. The bishop takes away the square, all because his opponent played f5 in the beginning. Oh, I also never introduced his opponent, Dolmatov Sergey from Russia. There we go. Okay, so let's see. We have queen d7 and that h-rook coming into the e-file. This king shaking in his boots, right? So he plays king d8, but this is wrong. He was scared. He's trying to run his king. But what he needed to do was long castle, but he was probably afraid of a4 or something along these lines, and ba4, bishop e4, a4, and the bishop, the queen, the rook. I mean, this is terrifying. The knight may be jumping in. The queen going into c4 to try to get to a6 and pile on the c6 pawn as well. And also, imagine, let's see, we have rook h e8 and queen c4. Now knight b5 is coming in at some moment, right? Because the pawn is now pinned to the king. This is terrifying. So his opponent instead plays king d8, thinking maybe I can have some shelter here with the pawn and the queen, but no. Because guess what? We have rook takes e7. The 13-year-old Magnus Carlsen playing rook takes e7, sacrificing the exchange, right? Why does he do this? Well, queen f4. Queen f4. A subtle move, but it lines up rook takes d6, right? So, and also attacks the bishop here. So, we have bishop back. Okay. Let's see. We have knight e4. Piling up on the knight on f6. That's pinned to the queen. Oh, and the king. It's brutal. And we have d5. Looking to get something. Solidify the center here. Block the bishop, right? But Magnus takes the knight. And guess what? You can't take back. Why can you not take back? Because a bishop takes f6 and the queen is lost. The queen is pinned to the king. This is brutal stuff, brutal stuff. If you try to like counterattack with the pin here, it's check, so that doesn't even work. Oh my goodness. So you can't take the knight back. Instead, you have to try h6, counterattacking the bishop here, but the bishop just goes back. The bishop just goes back, and g5 looks like a fork. It looks like a fork, but queen d4. And guess what? His opponent resigned. His opponent resigned after queen d4. Why? Well, you can't take the bishop because of knight d5. And the queen hits the rook. So if you take the knight back, you lose the rook. And now Magnus would be up material here and still slaughtering the king. So his opponent resigned. There's nothing. If you try rook f8, then knight takes d7, queen d7. Okay, you just drop the bishop back. And this king is still stuck in the center with no shelter. You can try like rook e8, but a4 is coming all the same. And you can try b takes a4, but this bishop is now active, right? You can try running the king, but queen c5, this is not going to end well for his opponent. So he decides to call it a day and say, okay, Magnus, I see you. I see you. It may have only been 19 moves, but you can have this one. Okay. Okay. Well, hey, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you as always. Make sure you give it a like if you did like the video. And check out this one over here. If you want to see how I beat 1800s around my rating online, I know not as impressive as Magnus, but if you still want to check that out, then check it out. It's right here. Go ahead and click that video.